Hello and welcome back to the news. Now today we have a lot of things to talk about, okay? Because if anybody from South African Dota 2 has been on Twitter for the last 2 or 3 days, you know it's an absolute shitstorm out there. Now I never thought I'd actually say this, but today I actually don't want to be like the drama guy. I actually want to objectively take a step back and look at this shit, right? Because I mean, for me to say that, things have to be bad. Because if I'm looking at Twitter as things are getting heated. Things are getting crazy out there. Like, there's a lot of people with a lot of emotions going around now, and many things have been said from many parties. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, we're about to find out. Because I'm going to go to the good, the bad, and the ugly of South African Dota 2 in the last weekend. And let's start off with the good. The good, of course, was the fact that the Sinister 5 Empower Cup tournament happened this weekend. Now, of course, there's a lot of controversy going around at the moment. But I just want to say that I've been approached by so many players and so many people who are like, we need another one. When's the next one, And that for me is really great to hear because the concept behind it is brilliant. I mean, this is the same or similar vein concept of Join the Legion back then. And that was just like a one-day showcase event. But like the fact that we had a whole tournament around this is insane. It made me so happy to see. And in practice, I can tell you from watching as a caster and observer that it worked. We look at a team like Team Schlinks, they had a clear idea of how they wanted to play. Team Adestam, similar story. Schlinks was closing his brother and stuff, and it was really good to see. Team Adestam, similar story. Medusa, Terrorblade, Strat, they ran the one game, and I thought I was watching LGD. It was that clean of a strategy in the way they ran their ship. It was insane. It made me really happy to see. It was a tournament to uplift the community, to teach the younger and newer players from the top, the Masters guys, show them how it's done, from the outside perspective as a coach, and I think for a lot of teams it worked. Cloud spoke about this as well. Great. The second part of this video is about the criticism surrounding the Sinister 5 Empower Cup. And now, if anybody's looking for criticism around Dota 2 South Africa, look no further than Bob Yules' Twitter page. Kappa. But memes aside, he actually was one of the initial critics of this event. Now, we were talking about this on the last news I did with Cloud, where we spoke about the Empower Cup, and we addressed some of his criticisms then. Now, since then, Bob Yules has actually taken a full 180 on his initial criticisms and tweets he made where he was arguing with the Sinister 5 guys and Sargon, and he says, you know what, he does actually see the value. So it's really good to see as well that a non-believer is now like, you know what, this is pretty cool. But of course, it was Bob Yules, and he had some other points to make as well, as you can see here in the tweet longer. Now, his other point was about the rule system of the event. And a lot of people didn't take what he said nicely, and probably because it's coming from Bob, right? And the way he says things. But I'm here to say that I kind of agree with him. I don't actually kind of agree with him. I do agree with him. I feel like there needs to be a better set of rules. I was saying in the last video as well that it's ridiculous that a player like Soda can come into an amateur event. I'm not trying to flame him here, of course. I'm just trying to say that this guy's played more Masters than 90% of these coaches, and he's playing an amateur tournament now, right? Because the only criteria was that non-Masters players of this year. And for me, that's way too vague a criteria. So Bob said he wants more rules in general. For me, I think MMR guide or cap or something like that needs to be implemented in the future. Something Brandon Cypress was saying as well. Now, the point about criticism I'd like to go back to is that Bob, of course, doesn't say things in the nicest way. And if you look at how Evo took it on his Twitter page, definitely didn't want to read that from Bob. But again, I will be the one to say it for him. We need to be a more strict here. And rules is not a like in the air thing, or it is an in the air thing in this case, because our game is Dota 2, and even Valve are not clear cut on their rules within their DPC, and that's the biggest Dota tournaments in the world. So yeah, we can expect a tournament like the Sinister 5 Cup to sort of, I would say, made a mistake on terms of how they decided the criteria of who can be a coach and who can be a player. But that's kind of in the past now, right? It happened. You have to learn from it. You have to go forward. My take on the situation. And part 3 of my video, going off the title, would be the ugly part. And to start things off, I'm going to get this out of the way, out of the water. I know Rockley's already tweeted about this, but for those of you who haven't seen, the accusations personally against Muzzy that he cheated during the Empower Cup are completely false. I personally investigated this with the people who made the accusations. Rockley checked it. Christopher House checked it. And it was 100% not Muzzy playing on the alleged accounts Vusi or Soda. And if you don't believe that, go look for yourself. But the official statement from the tournament, from myself, from Rockley is that it wasn't Muzzy playing. So those saying he cheated in playing is not true. And I think you guys are kind of discrediting Soda that he can actually play Dota. I mean, he's a divine player. Just spoke about that. So yeah, he didn't cheat. Those who called him and Team Muzzy cheaters for having immortal players, well, some could argue it's wrong, right? That the purpose of the tournament was you have a tournament where amateurs play and you have good players, the masters players, coaching them to get better. So in that vein, it's clear to see that this shouldn't have happened, okay? No immortal 3.1k ranked EU player should be playing. But the fact of the matter is, of the criteria of who can play in the tournament, Mr. Malf was his name, the 6k player, was allowed to play. I mean, and so was Precious Petunia, so was Harry the Hammers, so was Phalanx and O'Malley, right? Maybe Phalanx and O'Malley, different intentions, but the fact of the matter is they still played. If Precious Petunia and Team RDK won, would the reaction have been the same now? I would hope so, because it's still not this is not the purpose of the tournament. Petunia doesn't need coaching, you know? Okay, maybe he does, but not to play in an amateur tournament, to play in Ballistic Masters like he played last year, to play in maybe Masters next year. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of point I'm trying to get at here, that yes, you can be upset with Team Muzzy and Muzzy about what they did, but you can't call it cheating. It might be a bit, behavior, but the rule said allowed for it. He did what he did to win. I wouldn't have done it personally, but it is what it is. You can't call him a cheater for that. I wish my time spent talking about Muzzy and Team Muzzy was over. But clearly, looking at these tweets right here, it isn't. Because I hate to break this to you, Muzzy, that is toxic behavior. And actually, nobody actually needs to hear me say that. Because if you go look at the comments on this thread, you see abundance of our pro players responding with yikes. Meaning they know. They know. Including Muzzy, he also knows. He apologizes in this thread, a very PR apology. He apologizes later on, saying he's going to duck his winnings and move on, which is great. But it's not just this one-off incident. This whole tournament, you've spent bickering and arguing with people. Yes, being called a cheat is not the greatest thing ever. And I spent a large chunk of this video saying how you and your team didn't cheat. But the fact of the matter is, and this is not disputable by anybody with more than 2 points of logic in their brain, that you guys violated the spirit of competition. You know full well that they should have never been an immortal player playing in a known amateur tournament, right? That's not up for debate. You violated the spirit of competition, okay? People called you a cheat as well on top of that. False claims and were wrong, but you have to see how people are provoked. Now, why I'm bringing this back up is that as a lot of people on Twitter going on and defending, but nobody apologized to Muzzy for calling him a cheater. Where's the compensation for that? I mean, fair enough. Being called a cheater is not the greatest thing. But there's ways you react to things, right? Astralis got called cheaters not too long ago either. Did they slide into the DMs of these people's girlfriends, and tell them they losers and they just lose? No. What kind of argument is that? How do you back up a statement of somebody saying you don't cheat and you say, I don't cheat because you're a loser? That's two irrelevant things here, Muzzy. And again, you apologize for this, and I'd like to think you thought about this shit. But at the same time, we're in a situation in Dota 2 right now where pro players like TNC Cuckoo are getting banned from tournaments, from a major, for using one derogatory comment against the Chinese language on stream. This guy could have cost himself and potentially his team a shot at TI from making a bad comment. And from an MGO perspective, Goliath Gaming have done a really good job at defending their player from claims of cheating, which is great. But where was the tweets from Goliath Gaming about, we do not condone this behavior. This behavior is not on, and we will be taking the necessary actions to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Yes, Muzzy personally tweeted all these things, which I think in the background the org was advised him on this. But publicly from the org itself, we have seen no statement about this behavior, which I don't think is on. You need to be accountable for things. You can't just pretend something never happened. Okay? That's just the sad reality. It's all over Twitter. It happened. So that's my thoughts on Muzzy, Team Muzzy and the org. Us as a community have been blowing the shit up as well. I mean, we look at Twitter and there's some nasty things being said by a lot of people. And this is like the biggest issue right now. We had Demonic Not many people went to go read his whole thread. It's like a 10-tweet thread, and he says he's been involved in the scene for about 15 years. And these kind of things, although there's a point to it, when we're getting so heated and so over the top and really going at each other on public forums, it doesn't really look good. You know what I mean? It doesn't look good for SA Dota scene. Like, bringing up this guy's personal life and that guy's personal life and attacking somebody personally like Muzzy did here, it's not ways to build the scene forward. And that's the funny thing. We go back to Muzzy a year ago when he made that tweet saga when he got upset when we did the podcast with Blue Oceans, where Slinks jokingly called SA scene trash and Odo called it clowny. He was the guy saying that this stuff looks bad. What are the sponsors and the businesses gonna think? And now we back here full circle, which is hilarious. And there's been a lot of hypocrisies going on in this throughout the situation from many people. I'm not gonna point them all out, but it's important we stop and think about this stuff. And my last note is that if you think you're good in the context of South African Dota and that justifies bad behavior, it doesn't. And of course, thank you everybody for watching this video. I know it wasn't the most fun PMA episode we've ever had, but you know, it is what it is. Gotta cover the good news and the bad sometimes. If you want to find all the latest good and bad news, head over to esportscentral.co.za. You can find them on Twitter at esportscentralza and on Facebook, Esports Central ZA. Thank you everybody for watching, and goodbye.